Warning, this video may contain spoilers for late parts in the game. If you plan on playing this at some point, turn back now. You have been warned. Hello, CR again with the final review of Wario Month, and I'm definitely a little sad that it's all finally coming to an end, as like I said in the beginning, Wario is one of my favorite characters in Nintendo history. There are a couple of games that I couldn't review because I didn't have the hardware to do it, and one I didn't do because of time, but I really enjoyed it all. This game is no exception to the formula, at least as far as WareWare games go, though I do have some definite cons over WareWare Mega Party games and will be explained in the cons section. But first, let's tackle the basics. One thing I didn't really think about for the series was that each game for a new system would have differing controls because Nintendo likes to experiment a lot. I really didn't expect this game to be much different from the GameCube one, but boy was I wrong. Use the singular Wiimote for most of this game, but in many different ways that I'll actually let the narrator for the game explain a couple.
The Samurai. With your right hand, hold the form baton close to your left hip. Like a hungry samurai defending his lunch, close your eyes and await your enemy's attack. The remote control. Hold the form baton straight, with the tip pointing forward. This simple stance reflects one of life's fiercest and greatest sports, channel surfing. Hold the form baton vertically, thumb resting lightly on the button. Through this stance, you channel the quiet dignity of a circus clown in the midst of a thunderstorm. The big G's. With the form baton at your hip, force your chest and hips forward. This dance honors the CEO, unsung hero standing proud on the backs of his employees.
In total, there are 21 different ways to hold the Wiimote, and after you beat the game, you unlock an extra story that lets you connect the nunchuck and adds another 3 ways to hold it. Other than that, the microgames feel the same, though this isn't a bad thing. The biggest thing that surprised me was the multiplayer being much less extensive. I thought this would be one of the big selling points of the game, and while there is a good amount of multiplayer stuff, I just expected a bit more. There are a couple things to unlock throughout the game, but generally they are much the same as with the GameCube game. After beating the story, you unlock All Mixed Up. Completing 30 in a row of that will unlock Super Hard. 20 of those will unlock Sudden Death, and 10 of these will unlock Thrilling. Finally, beating 20 Thrillings will unlock the Sound Studio. You also get extended single-player microgames such as Block Star, Tortoise and Hare, and Balloon Trip. The stories don't really connect much through each other, but they eventually kind of come together. It starts out with Wario eating a bunch of candy that a creature called a Splunk steals. Wario chases it into the Temple of Form and takes the form baton, which is just a Wiimote, and a boulder comes down a la Indiana Jones, which forces Wario to run through to escape. The next is Mona's story, where a football player falls desperately in love with her but needs to focus on the big game through her cheerleading. After winning, he goes to confess his love to her, but she is oblivious to his words as she speeds off on her scooter. Kat and Anna's story involves an elephant ogre attacking their diamond dojo. They split up with Anna racing into the dojo and Kat preoccupying the ogre. Anna finds their sensei with a little ogre who cries for Kat and the elephant ogre to stop fighting. Seemingly, the little ogre and the elephant ogre begin to fade into the distance when Kat realizes Anna was mistakenly taken instead of the little ogre. Young Cricket and Master Mantis sees the two being extremely hungry when they come upon a stand selling pork buns. Cricket cuts the line by jumping on everyone's head, but as he gets to the front, he realizes that everyone is pissed, so he jumps on their heads again to the back of the line where he tells Mantis they should just wait in the line. Jimmy T's story is pretty much just him having a dance party with a bunch of cats after he gave one an umbrella when it was raining. During Ashley and Red's story, they attempt to summon a deadly plant, but only manage to create a small flower. After learning from a spellbook, she creates a giant version of the monstrous plant, and Ashley gives a small smile. Dribble and Spit's story starts off pretty simple. As cabbies, they pick up a woman who wants to be driven to Tomorrow Hill. After they drop her off, a giant UFO picks her up as she turns into an alien, and Spitz realizes that she never paid her fare. Penny's story pins her and her grandfather Krygor in an event off. Penny wins by creating a Wario-themed motorcycle. 9V and 18V's story has 9V showing off his Game & Watch, which 18V accidentally breaks. 18V tries to find an apology gift in a toy store, but notices a commotion going on at the game store. Iwata himself is showing off a Game & Watch, which 18V reaches for, as well as another hand that turns out to belong to 9V, and the two make up for earlier. Jimmy P's story is the opposite animal from Jimmy T, dogs who he dances with after giving one a bone. The technical culmination of all these stories is with Tiny Wario. Wario receives a package from Penny, being the Wario bike from earlier, which Wario eagerly rides on. While riding, he gets sucked into the bike, which spits many Warios out of it. The tiny Warios find a strawberry patch and start eating them, eventually jumping and forming back together into Wario, though he gets chased by the Splunk from earlier as they want him to return the Form Baton. They chase him all the way back to the Temple of Form, and Wario trips, sending the Form Baton back to where it belongs. The true ending is with Orbulon, who is flying in space when his ship gets hit by a balance stone, where he ends up crashing in the Form Temple. The balance stone and Form Baton combine, and Orbulon claims the temple as his own as it gets flown into space. This doesn't last for long, as the Splunks take the Form Baton from him, crashing the temple back down and sending him flying. I had a lot of fun playing through all the craziness that all the characters brought on, and I found myself smiling pretty much non-stop as I unlocked more forms for the Wiimote. The Wiimote with all the forms was a really interesting addition that felt refreshing as I learned new ways to move it, and kept the gameplay fresh and me on my toes. While the Wiimote was interesting, it made a bit of the gameplay more challenging because some of the microgames were harder to understand what you were even supposed to be doing during them. Most are pretty straightforward, but some didn't respond as well or played differently even though they were in the same form, and made me want a bit more of the simplified and easy to understand controls of the GameCube controller on Mega Party games. Though I will admit there was also a bit of what am I supposed to do with it, but it was to a point that I didn't really mind, as I'd usually at least learn on the next try or so. The tortoise and the hare took me like 5 or 6 tries to understand, but maybe I'm just dumb. While I did have cons for this game, I still think it's just as much absolute madness and fun to be had as the GameCube game, and I'm probably just being harder on it because I don't have the same nostalgia as I do for Mega Party games. I smiled the entire way through, and I was sad when it came to an end so quickly. And with this, Wario Month is complete. I really enjoyed my time with the Wario games, and I'll definitely be doing months dedicated to various other characters or franchises when I can, and I already have something planned for June, which you might be able to have a guess at with its 30th anniversary coming up. Hope you enjoyed, and see you next video.